When I was a kid, all I did was read books. In a week's time, I would have finished an entire manga series and nearly devoured several fantasy novels on top of that. I could call that escapism, but somehow I feel like it was more. Everything that inspired me came from something that I read. Books, comics, even fan fiction, and my favorite places to be were libraries. Really quick before we get too far into the video, I am going to tell you what I'm working on. This is the cover for Chapter 7 of Stars Burn Out. A story of the youngest Lockhart prince, who is attempting to dismantle the generational curse that forces the family to make very selfish choices that cost the lives of many. Riker Lockhart is the star of the story and must overcome not only a very literal curse, but his own turmoil with his gender identity. If you're interested in reading Stars Burn Out, visit starsburnout.webcomic.ws or visit the link in the description. Back to it. I guess you're wondering, Eggs, what's the point of this video? Don't worry, we're getting there. While I was in the library, I would spend a lot of time looking through art books. One of my favorite art books to look through was the Monster Book of Manga. You know, the one, it was extra thick and didn't teach you a thing about making manga. I would try my hand at sketching what I saw in those books in an attempt to level up my 13-year-old skills. Did it work? Nah, I won't say it didn't. But it definitely didn't work the way I'd hoped it did. One day, when I'd gotten home from school, I logged onto Gaia.com, an online hangout and forum game that had so many of us wrapped around its little fingers. Now, this is a sidebar, but this video isn't about how I started making comics. I did that long before I knew what I was doing with webcomics, so on Gaia there were a few forums that allowed you to discuss, you guessed it, comics. This was my first exposure to the medium of webcomics, and I was obsessed. At the time, there were a lot of really awesome hosting platforms like Drunk Duck and Smack Jeeves. Both were my go-to choices for reading webcomics. I would say that my reading of webcomics rivaled my reading of manga and novels. And that's when I saw them. The Yaoi collaborations. If you're confused, I completely understand, so let me explain just a little bit. Between the years of 2005 and 2009, there was a large community of comic and manga artists that had an interesting gravitation towards male-male romance. Think of early shipping like Kirk and Picard, and Sasuke and Naruto, Elle and Light, Axel and Roxas, so on and so on and so on. Well, a lot of us wanted to get together and make these massive 20-plus artist projects with our male OCs or personas just for fun. I thought it was the perfect opportunity to get my comics online, so I joined. A lot of them. And I mean a lot of them. I don't remember the names at all, but I was part of at least 10 to 15 at a time. School life, fantasy, isekais, anything that you could think of as far as like genre goes that could have a yaoi spin to it, I was trying to get into being part of it. After a while, around 2007, I decided to actually start writing my own comic. This was also the year I got my first graphics tablet. The Wacom Pen and Touch. It was a rinky-dink little thing that I saved up $60 for, and it did okay. It wasn't great and it wasn't terrible, but it was enough to get started at my age. I drew a lot on that tablet and eventually got to the point where I wanted to make things that I'd learned from comics and manga I had read. And the inspiration that I got from novels, I spent hours poring over. And, combining all those inspirations, making something of my own. And that's where Stars Burn Out was born. Well, at the time, it was called My Sweet Prince, and it was a gender-bent fantasy of me getting Wonderland and turned into a bio boy, but we can save that for another video. Anyway, Stars Burn Out was my brain baby. I worked hard on it day in and day out, but it never took off the way my little teen brain wanted it to. But that never stopped me. That is to say, obviously, I'm still working on it. It's written and I release a new chapter every year or every few months. Since I'm doing it all on my own with no team, no publishers or editors, it takes a long time to make between work obligations and other projects. That leads us to the title of the video. Why did I start making webcomics to begin with? The answer is pretty simple. I started and continued writing them because I wanted to see myself in silly little fantasy worlds. To see little me be the adventurous kid I should have been allowed to be, but wasn't because of the area that I was in. To let someone that looks like me be the hero in a horror situation. Webcomics became an outlet and a gateway for me. I was able to build fantastical, wonderful worlds, while also telling a consistent, emotionally gripping story that anyone can connect with. More recently, I find my stories as that escape I should have been more invested in when I was younger and reading a lot of books. With a wealth of Black books that focus on our experience and our trauma, why not have something that detracts from that? Something that feels fresh and new. That exciting feeling that you get from something like Lord of the Rings or Dungeons and Dragons is something that I want to interject into my work all the time. If I were to say that seeing amazing Black heroes in books wasn't something that I wanted, I'm pretty sure I'd be lying. I want to see people of color fight dragons and befriend orcs and just be weird. There's a stigma within our culture that doesn't allow us to be the little weirdos that we really are. And my webcomics, at least for me, help me express that. Help me push that out into the world so that other little Black kids that like Mortal Kombat and think Alice in Wonderland was one of the greatest book-movie combos to date can feel a little normal and not othered by our own community. And that's why webcomics became so important to me, and why I started making them. They help me help others in my community. That's all I have to say. I feel like I'm rambling at this point, so I'm going to stop recording this voiceover, and hopefully everything I said is, cool with you guys, and I will see you at the very end where I do my little outro sequence. That's all for now. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope to see you next time. If you like this video, why don't you watch another? And go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. If you're interested in supporting me, this channel, or any future projects, check out the links in the description. I have links to my Ko-fi, my social media, and don't forget to check out my webcomic Stars Burn Out. And if this is the first time you're hearing it, don't forget that you have until January 31st to join the circus, where you can get behind the scenes exclusives, first looks at comic pages and projects, as well as physical rewards for higher tiers. If you join the Living Dead, these are the rewards that you'll be receiving at the end of the month for the month of January. It is a angel and demon themed sticker set and print. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!